Around the turn of the century, Six Flags was expanding quite aggressively, building multiple big project coasters every year. One of the better roller coasters to make it through this era was Superman Ride of Steel. In typical Six Flags fashion, this roller coaster was cloned, one version being built at Six Flags Darien Lake, and the mirrored version sent to Six Flags America. Besides being mirrored versions of each other, both attractions share the same ride specs. Today's review will be mostly based off the version at Six Flags America, but I have ridden both clones many times and can vouch that they deliver very similar experiences. So feel free to use this review and apply it to the original Darien Lake version. Presentation. Located in the back of the park, Superman towers over all the attractions in the area. Though the Wonder Woman Golden Lasso ride might be taller, but that's beside the point. Unlike Ride of Steel at Darien Lake, which is partly over water, Superman Ride of Steel is mostly secluded into the woods, making it hard to get some great video and pictures of the ride beyond the first drop and the last few bunny hills. Many seem to prefer the scenery with the Darien Lake version, but what's nice about America's clone is the seclusion. The ride is unviewable from the road and parking lot, while at Six Flags Darien Lake, Ride of Steel is the first ride you will see arriving at the park and is very front and center. I'm not sure the last time this Intamin Hyper got a paint job, but it's in real need of some TLC. The color is so faded it's more of a pink color than the original bright red color. The Superman logo on the front of both trains are starting to peel and it looks awful. All the restraints and seats look disgusting. I think it's time for Six Flags to invest a little money into their star attraction and give this coaster another makeover. Because this ride setting is very good, Superman will push its presentation score up to 6. Ride intensity. Superman Ride of Steel at Darien Lake was my first hyper coaster. It was the most intense roller coaster that I've ever ridden. Obviously, it no longer holds this status, but it still holds its own. The first giant helix is probably the most intense moment of the ride, delivering some strong sustained Gs. The first drop, riding in the back row, is where you'll experience the best airtime. But Superman isn't much about the airtime as it is about the speed. The front row is my personal favorite place to ride because you experience the full force of the coaster while still getting a couple moments of airtime. Starting off with a 205-foot plunge, Superman dives right into a right turn, then sends you back into the air. This airtime hill is the weakest of all the airtime hills, but you can get a little floater up in the front row. The first helix, as I mentioned earlier, is the most intense moment of the ride. After completing this helix, Superman traverses its most infamous section, the straight track. The airtime hill preceding it is pretty good. When the coaster is running at full speeds, expect to get some good ejector. The second helix is the least exciting part of the ride. I feel this element was only built to extend out the ride time without really offering much in return. However, Superman does recover by delivering 3 airtime hills before slamming into the brakes. Overall, Superman Ride of Steel is a decent, forceful attraction, and because of its height, this ride can be intimidating. I will award Superman a score of 8.5 for ride intensity. Fun factor. Intamin knows how to create good rides, as Superman is a well-rounded attraction. It may not exceed in any category, but you know that you'll be walking off this ride with a smile on your face.
Let's put a smile on that face.
The roller coaster collection at Six Flags America is lackluster, which makes Superman stand out amongst the sludge. There are a couple good moments of airtime, and of course, great moments of high speeds and decent G-forces. Because the front and back of the train provides their own unique experiences, Superman is a great roller coaster to re-ride. Just keep bouncing around to different rows to mix things up. Overall, Superman is a decent ride that's fun to ride and marathon. Fun factor gets a score of 9. Originality. Of the 2 clones, Ride of Steel at Darien Lake is the original creation, which makes Superman Ride of Steel the hand-me-down version. With only 2 versions of this roller coaster in existence, the ride retains some originality. The roller coaster is a mirrored version, I guess to help mix things up and to accommodate the piece of property Six Flags was working with. Because the ride is a cloned coaster, I can't give this a glowing score for originality, so I've opted to settle for a score of 6. Ride smoothness. After being in operation for 19 years, Superman is starting to develop a rattle. It could be more of the train than it is the track. There are a few moments on the ride that are closer to driving down a gravel road than riding on a steel track, but I would say that those moments are on the rare side. The lap bar restraints make for a good ride, so even if the track is a little bumpy, it really doesn't matter in the long run. Superman gets a score of 8 for ride smoothness. Okay, the final score comes to 7.5, which is a decent score. Superman Ride of Steel may not be the best hypercoaster on the planet, but it delivers a fun ride. I'm starting to see that these old hypercoasters by Intamin are not holding up as well compared to the hypercoasters by Bolliger and Mabilliard. But Intamin rides are more aggressive in nature, and with that aggressiveness comes more wear and tear. Being Superman was my first hypercoaster, the one at Darien Lake, this ride holds a special place with me, so when I give it a personal rating, I'm gonna shoot a little higher with a score of 8.5. Ride of Steel at Darien Lake was my favorite coaster for a few years in a row. It was that hurdle to jump over before working my way up to bigger and greater coasters. It's always amusing to look back at the coasters that I used to deem the cream of the crop and see where they rank now. So I've been dancing around this question, and that's which version is better, Ride of Steel or Superman Ride of Steel? Because it's been a few years since I rode Ride of Steel, and Superman Ride of Steel is still fresh in my mind, I must lean towards the latter. From what I've seen and heard from others, Ride of Steel at Darien Lake has been neglected, and it's only running with one train. Not to say that Six Flags America version is being treated much better, but hopefully Six Flags will put some TLC into both of these coasters and bring them back to their former glory. Well, thank you for watching today's video. What do you think of Superman Ride of Steel? Let me know in the comments below. As always, please subscribe so you don't miss out on more great content coming your way by XscreamThrills.